Hi, I'm Justin,
And I'm Laura.
and this is Count Time. And today we're interviewing Aaron, who actually I knew at Sandstone, Minnesota. We were actually locked up together, so it's super cool to see the success story that he's become and the different things that he's involved in. I'm excited to hear what he has to say. Aaron, welcome to the podcast.
And thank you all for having me on. I definitely appreciate it. It was a shock to see Justin. I knew I recognized his face, so it's good to see you doing good things, man.
Excellent, man. So good to see you too, bro.
Yep. So
All right, you want to?
what's going on?
Well, let's start with you telling us a little bit about yourself.
Well, grew up south side of Chicago, all of my life pretty much. Family, youngest of five children, working poor, but nevertheless, like we value education. So I always knew that I would go to college and do something
Excellent.
great with my life. You know what I mean? Despite my environment, but
Right.
my environment, at the same time was the allure of it, like the streets and hustling and things of that nature. I detoured and I started selling marijuana early, like 15 years old. Eventually led to selling cocaine, then eventually heroin, and then eventually led to a 12-year federal sentence for running
Yeah.
a heroin operation inside of a Chicago housing project. And that was 2009. I went in, got out 2019. So a little bit over 9 years incarcerated. But while I was
Jeez.
there, I had a change of mindset. And that was due to like my faith and just I shortchanged myself at the end of the day. And so
For
here I
sure.
am building out, a media company and trucking company and a host of other things. So, and I have a daughter as well too.
How old is she?
She's 12. She was born while I
12.
was incarcerated. Yep.
Yeah, I have a 10-year-old. She was 3 when I went in. I did just under 7.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, that's so cool to see. I actually looked at the companies that you are sort of affiliated with.
Yeah.
It's a great idea, man. Like, where did you come up with the drive to really like? Because everybody when they're in prison is going to start
Yeah.
their own. Everybody,
Right.
they're either going
Everybody.
to
Yeah.
become a truck driver or they're going
Yep.
to start their own business. Like,
Yeah.
what set you apart? What was different about your goals that actually made it a reality for you?
I think it's the execution. You know, I knew that I had to do more than just talk. And mind you, I had some kind of a discipline about myself. Like I've been in a collegiate environment before I went to college, got a
Sure.
business degree, had some work experience, but not enough. But
Right.
nevertheless, I've always been ambitious, and going to prison was like a one and done situation. For I knew it wasn't going to be a round trip type situation,
Right.
and so that was the difference. Like I had made up my mind, like I was done. Like most people, I won't say most people, but some people that we, encounter, they're not fully done yet. You know,
Right.
and so you have to be done with that lifestyle. And I always say it has to be from like a moral standpoint, not just because, you know, legally you're going to get a lot of time. Of course, that definitely should be a deterrent. But
Right.
but for me, it was more so like my faith and but also the time as well that comes with it. But yeah, so that was pretty much what separated me from other people was like my own drive, to
Right.
kind of just get things done and just that ambition.
Well, I definitely can tell that the drive was enough for you. A lot of people, you know, I know I have had lofty goals, getting out, and I
Yeah,
think that there's a real part of you, when you're in there that just, has all these dreams. It's like you're being reborn when you get out. But then
yeah,
when you get out, you have to also be realistic about what kind of obstacles are going to be in your way, the different things that you have to kind of endure. When you first got out, did you have to kind of take it back a step, and kind of, do something that maybe you didn't want to do right away? Like, how did you, right when you first got out, like, I know you hit the ground running, behind the
yeah,
scenes, but in the
yeah.
in the in the interim, you had to make it work too. You had to do
Right.
what the halfway house wanted you to do, things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, no, no, for sure, man. Like when I initially got out, the halfway house, I got 6 months halfway house, and in
Yeah.
my mind, I knew I wasn't free, but they hit me with the ankle monitor, and I
Oh,
wasn't I wasn't expecting that, because I didn't
nice.
have
So
like
you
one
got
of I
right
didn't,
out.
yeah, I got out and I had an ankle monitor. No, I had an ankle monitor on while I was in the halfway house.
Oh,
So
geez.
Yeah, so it was like a double like incarceration. So I I'm like, wow, I thought I would be able to move around a little bit more than what I
Right.
was. And so that really put me back on lockdown. So it really
Yeah.
put me in this mindset of like I'm still incarcerated. And so with that, I kind of kept the mindset that I was still in jail. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
still kept my routine. I did some of the same things I did, while I was there. I was just in this quote unquote this free environment, which I
Sure.
wasn't free because it was almost in a sense, I was at some points I was like, they could send me back to
It's almost
Samsung, you know
worse.
what I mean? Yeah, I was
It's
like,
almost
because
worse.
I knew my routine at Samsung. I was like, here it's like I got this month, I can't even go see my mom. And
Oh, I
so
know.
a lot of things were kind of on hold. I couldn't get access to a computer or internet because they wouldn't allow cell phones inside of the place, and we could only get on the computer
Oh,
while we were
wow.
like inside of like the what do you call it, like the computer room. So it was really limited. And with that, it kind of held me back a little bit, but at the same time, it kept me super focused. Like I was able to
Right.
get like my credit together. Um, of course, I was getting a job anyway, so I was like the halfway
Sure.
house to work, work to halfway house, like nothing in between. I couldn't get to
Right.
do pretty much anything, and so those things kind of really helped me stay focused, and that's how I was able to kind of just jump off right after I was able to like get that freedom because I had all this 6 months of time to not play, not
Yeah.
to go off
Mm.
and run off and go see this girl or see that girl, whatever, right?
Right.
Like, you know how it go, man.
Which
And
is what we
so,
think we're going to do as soon as we get
yeah,
there.
exactly right. And so, yeah, so I'm gonna go do this, I'm gonna do that. No, it wasn't like that for me. And so, again, it was like being incarcerated again. So it
Yeah,
really helped
that's
me
kind
out.
of a downer, like because I mean, I bet when you found out you got 6 months halfway house, you were like, all right, like because
Yeah,
I remember back then they were some people were getting 3 months, some
getting
people,
it.
like
Yeah,
they were so full that it's a luxury to get 6 months.
right.
But then, you go to an environment like that where freedom is right here, and
There you
then
go. You
you
can't
still
touch
can't
it.
touch it,
You can't
like
touch it.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But you stacked your money, you got your
Yep.
credit together,
Got my
you
credit
did
together.
all
Kept a
of those
job.
things,
Yep.
so maybe, God always has a plan, for us. Maybe he knows what we need before we do. And so,
Absolutely.
like
Yeah.
for me, sometimes a little bit too much freedom right all at once may not be good for
Yeah.
me. And I've
Yeah. It
proven
was.
that
Yeah.
in
You're
the, in
right.
the
Yeah.
time and time again.
Yeah. Yeah. Looking back on the situation, everything worked out how
Yeah,
it needed to work out. I needed that time like to really sit down and like keep myself on point and focus.
excellent.
Yeah. So
Laura, did
that's
you
what
have
worked out
something
for
you
me.
wanted to?
I mean, I'm catching my breath. I'm still blown away by all of your accomplishments. You're absolutely amazing. I have done
Thank you.
some looking into some of your businesses, but also
Yeah.
just your story and some of your. You have an interview on one of your podcast episodes where they talk about you instead of you interviewing other people, and that
Oh yeah.
really,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that really touched close to home. I just appreciate, you putting yourself out there, and
Yeah.
being reflective, but not just in hindsight. Also, you can really tell you took the time to be introspective as much as you could while you were going through some of the struggles you were. And I don't know, if that's kind of what led you down your path through faith, or if it happened before then. But wow,
Yeah.
talk about a strong individual. You're amazing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It was both. I would say I had the opportunity to be on bond or get a bond for a couple of years, and so during that time, I had the chance to really kind of get back to the essence of who I was, and like, man, I really screwed things up. You know what I mean? Like this is a serious situation. Like I can go to jail for the rest of my life, and so I need to get my own relationship with Christ, opposed to like having a relationship through my parents. And so that's what I did. But it was, you know how it is, Justin. Like once you get in there, like you got
Yeah,
Bible
the
studies, you know
reality
what I'm
hits
saying?
hard.
Yeah, your reality of that, and then you got like far as like your faith and your walk, like you're under a magnifying glass, to be honest, you know what I mean? Like if you're a
Right,
Christian and you do something, people are like, you're supposed to be Christian, right? Like they try to point out
right.
different things, whatever, right? Which is
Yeah,
it is what it
people are
is.
quick
But
to tell
yeah,
you about yourself. That's for sure.
exactly. Yeah. And so I kept myself around some good brothers, good men of faith.
That's
They
excellent.
kind of helped like groom me in my own walk. And so I really grew up from a spiritual Christian um, walk, if you will, while I was walking the yard, so to
Yeah.
speak, for those 9 years. And
Now, did you
just
start at Sandstone or did you start somewhere
yeah,
else?
I started at Stanson. I was like
You
probably
did
like
your
the
whole time
my
at
whole
Sandstone.
I was probably the longest standing inmate at
But
Sandstone. I
listen, there's a
stayed in
lot
Flip
worse
over.
places to do time.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think if a person you have to do some time in prison, like you probably want to go there and kind of get your
Yeah.
time. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've
So
often said that about Sandstone, like I actually was at Marion at the camp in Southern Illinois and I
yeah,
screwed that up.
yeah,
And so they shipped me to Sandstone and I didn't think it was really a punishment. I thought it
yeah,
was
yeah,
kind of an upgrade, to be
yeah,
honest with
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. No, it's definitely my brother. He's at Marion right now. He's at the
Really, at
camp
the
right
camp?
now. Yeah, yeah, at the camp. Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
Lord.
yeah. He's at the camp.
Is this still off the chain?
Yeah, it's still what it is, you know.
I was always telling people, that part of the prison sentence was the most fun I've ever
Right.
had.
Not that
Anyway,
we're
not to make
promoting.
light of it. Prison is
Right,
not
right,
fun. Nobody
right.
should go there. That is not
Definitely.
the point of this.
Right.
Oh
You
my gosh.
definitely don't want to do the count time, the 4:30
No,
counts and
there's too many
9:30
count
counts.
times.
Yeah, yeah, you don't want to deal with that. But yeah, so that was like that was during the time like when I really kind of got my spiritual man on and was really able to kind of turn into this new creature, if you will. So
Right.
really helped me get through my time and deal with the situation and deal with other people too, though.
Mhm. Mhm.
So was it hard? Like how was, because obviously your daughter was born, before you went in,
Yeah.
or like right before, right? I mean, she was like 2 when you went down.
No, she wasn't born yet.
She
Okay,
wasn't
she's
born
12.
yet.
Yeah, she wasn't born yet. Yeah, so
Okay.
I was
Oh yeah, because I
four.
guess it
I was
has
about
been a
4 months
couple
in.
years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was 4 months in. I was 4 months
You were
in when
4 months in when she was born.
she was born. Yeah, yeah. And so
So how was
this.
that? Because I know like my daughter was 3 when I went in, and it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do was to get dropped
Yeah,
off at the federal courthouse and
right.
say goodbye to her, and she not really understanding, where I was. Like, how did you build a relationship with her while you were locked up?
Um, phone calls. Her mom
Yeah,
was pretty. Yeah, emails came around, so I had a chance to kind of write her emails,
sure.
but I was sending like I don't know if you remember this, but like they used to like allow for you like to do a video where you can
Yeah,
like read a book.
yeah,
It was through like the library or education. You could read a book.
yeah. What's
So I
her
would do
name?
those.
The head of the education. She was real
Yeah,
good about that.
yeah, she's
I
real
used to
good
work
about
for her.
that.
I worked in the career resource center.
Okay, yeah, okay, then cool, yeah. And so
Yeah,
I used to do that. I used to send stuff home like once a month, like a
yeah,
package. Then they stopped allowing people to send stuff home. So
right.
but
Mhm.
mainly the phone calls and the pictures and just yeah, that was pretty much the main way that I was able to kind of stay in connection with her.
And it was enough because when you got out, you were able to just jump right
Yeah,
in.
yeah. We still kind of just going through working things out now, but for the
Sure,
most part, we're getting it together. The strain of being away can definitely have an impact, and so
oh,
it's just
for
about
sure.
just
And 12 is a tough age.
yeah,
They're
yeah. That's what they say. Yeah, this is my first. Yeah, so
yeah, I know. I've yet to
yeah,
experience it, but I know 10
yeah,
is a tough age.
right. Yeah. So
That's
we,
so
we we get
encouraging.
to
It's
it.
encouraging to see the kind of person you've become. I know that, I don't remember you, like weren't really friends, but
Yeah,
definitely I remember you from the unit. And then when I went up into RDAP, like I saw a lot of people come through the Career Resource Center
yeah,
and
yeah.
like our main focus was trying to help people who were about to get out, building their
Hmm.
resumes, we had a job kiosk for a while till they took
Yeah,
that
yeah,
away.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
those little things makes a huge difference in somebody's motivation. If they're able to go
yeah,
and they're able to get themselves prepared in a way that is tangible, like I'm coming out, I have a resume, I've gone through the job fair, I've done these things. While they're little things, they're big deals, especially for people that don't have a whole lot of a career. Like I had a career before I decided to go
yeah.
off the deep end and do what I did.
Right.
I had a whole part of my life that didn't involve drugs and crime and things like that. And then I decided to go in that direction.
Right. Yeah.
So it was easy for me though to get that mind. Not easy because, like you said, there is always the allure of that lifestyle, and it's hard to say no to it, and it's constantly knocking because you've always got people that are always going to be popping up here or there, and you got to know how to handle that. And that's one thing that I've struggled with, is how to handle those people when they pop
Yeah.
back up, and
Right. Yeah, for sure.
it's but it's great to see, just how your preparation led to success. You don't see it very often. You hear a lot of words a lot of the time, but you don't see
Yeah.
a lot of actual follow through.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But also, as I'm in this space of like reentry and reform work, I see more people doing well than the public has an idea about.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's right.
And I learn more as I continue to do like the podcast, other work that I do related around reentry. Just in that space, you're going to see more,
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of like my goal to make sure that society just has a different outlook on people that spent time incarcerated.
Right.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
Well,
that's
that is, we were actually just speaking earlier about that, about how it really isn't going to change until the perception of the public changes and the
yeah.
perception of the people that are in power changes.
Yeah.
That's such a huge thing. And it's so hard. Like, we're in Nebraska. It's one of the most conservative states.
Yeah.
It's tough to get these rich white Republicans, no offense, to change, their whole mindset about crime and about people that have been incarcerated, felons, just, really, like, from my standpoint, we're crippled coming out, and we have to work 3 times as hard as your average person in order to be successful. Have you encountered any challenges, like, I'm not saying now, but like in the early stages of getting out, where your conviction did pose an issue, and how did you overcome it?
Oh man, as I look back, to be honest with you, man, like I've been blessed, like I applied for one of the first jobs I applied for, I got, and I still work there now as like
Excellent.
doing dispatches of freight broker overnight, right? And that was one of the jobs I had on my to-do list or goal list because I had some experience in it before. But it was one job I applied for, well, maybe a couple. One at a temp agency I'll never forget. Like, she was like, "Hey, you spent almost a decade in prison. Like what did you do?" It must have been like something crazy. And I knew that was kind of like she wasn't supposed to ask me that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Yeah.
so I just kind of I used that time to really enlighten her about the system. You know what I'm saying?
That's excellent.
And she was surprised like that someone can do that much time for drugs. Like non-violent type situation. And so, but yeah,
the feds don't play.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, so that was probably one of the challenges. And another one, I didn't get the position after I told them that I had the felony or whatever. It was actually like a
Now, did you tell them
institution.
prior to the interview or at the interview?
No, at the interview. Like I think it was like the second interview.
Okay.
To be honest with you, man, I was just happy to have been invited to a prestigious company like that. I was still in a halfway house. And I'm like downtown overlooking the city, like, man, this is great. They have no idea, right? So
no.
And so I was okay. Like, at that point, I made it past the phone interview, and I was like, you know what? If they don't let me in, it's cool. I had a good time.
You had the
right?
experience.
So that was really the only 2 times that I can remember that really was like, no, because of your situation, or they questioned, my background.
So I love that you took the time to really enlighten her and teach her a little bit. And I'm not surprised that she was surprised at some of the information you gave her. So how would you feel? Do you think it'd be helpful if we had more of that throughout the U.S.? I know in the Midwest especially, we can definitely have some perceptions.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like if there was a better curriculum that we could expand, at least in the U.S. to start out with, I think that would help with some of the hiring deficit for people who have served time. What do you think about that?
I think that as what I did, like far as enlightening the employers, about because I just had an interview with a gentleman. He actually wrote a book about second chance hiring.
Mm.
and
Oh,
really
wow.
made a big, strong case for it. And one of the things we talked about was like, you know, you have to understand the context of the crime. You know,
Mhm.
when you hear felony, you just think, oh, felony, right? Like you don't think past that. An employer, like, okay, it must have been something that was. If you went to jail, you did it. You supposed to got the time for it. Like there's no thinking behind. There's no critical thinking behind it, right? And
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
we're asking them now to like to think past that. A lot of people don't want to think. It's easy for them to be like, okay, you got an F on your report card, felony. We don't want to deal with that, right? But it also could be a felony in Nebraska, but a misdemeanor in Illinois.
Right.
You know what I
Mm.
mean? So looking at the context of a situation, like being able to like educate employers on that, and then also looking at like their institutional record, because someone like me, right? Although I went to prison, like this high profile drug conspiracy thing, but nevertheless, everything that I did in prison was opposite of the things I did on the streets, minus going to college, things of that nature. But looking at a person's record, if they could, like what were you doing while you were incarcerated, right? Like I
Mhm.
did this. I was on a reentry committee. I took Toastmasters. I did blah 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 blah. All these different things. I got certificates for this and that, right? To be able to
Right.
take all this stuff into consideration, they need to know about these things
Mhm.
and
Absolutely.
employ like potential candidates such as ourselves, like when we go in these rooms, like we need to be able to like articulate and talk about the things that we accomplished while we were there, right? Talk a little bit about your time, but most of the time, like what have you done to change?
Right.
Mhm.
And I think that that's a great point because there is a way to translate all the different things that we did in
Yeah,
prison
for
to
sure.
real life
Right.
skills, things that
Yeah.
can actually be beneficial. I'm not talking about just like an apprenticeship either,
Yeah.
like the jobs that you held,
Yeah.
all the different, classes that you take, no matter how menial they are,
Right.
there are
Yeah.
different things you're filling your time with that are
Exactly. Yeah.
productive and that are positive rather than just sitting around doing whatever. Like people have a
Yeah.
perception of what we do in prison, and we don't just sit around. Like we can't, like because if you just sit
Yeah.
around, your time is going to go extremely
Super
slow.
slow. Right. Yeah, I'm laughing because I'm thinking about like translating what you were doing in prison to like what you're doing out here. I worked at True Links, right? You remember True Links, right? The
Yeah,
job, right? Like the sweetest job in the BOP, right?
the
And
best one.
like the best job, right? So
What is the job for
it's
those
pretty
of us
much
who
like
were there?
you're helping people like with their email and really cleaning off the computers. Really
Yeah,
not
you're like
even helping
wiping
people
down
with
the
email.
computers. You're like
Yeah.
you report to who? The captain or
The True Links supervisor, somebody like that,
yeah,
from what I
a
remember.
dude that also has the easiest job in the world.
Exactly right. Absolutely. And so I remember like while I had this job, I had this job for like 5 or 6 years. I'm like, man, I really didn't do much, you know. Right? But
It
I
was one
did
of the
other
highest
things
paying
like
jobs on the compound too,
exactly right. It's like I think I got like $125 a month, right? And it was just like super easy, right?
which is
But
like baller status in the
yeah,
bank.
exactly, right. I'm penitentiary rich. But I had
Yeah.
so I'm thinking like, wow, what can I, put on my resume as far as, what I was doing while I was incarcerated. Of course, I did the reentry committee. I taught
Sure.
budgeting class. I did the RDAP and all that stuff, but like my job, I was just like, I had to kind of fluff it up a little bit, right? But at the same
Right.
time, like, okay, I was a computer technician,
Yeah, exactly.
I did this, I did, you know what I
Exactly.
mean? And
But isn't
so,
that what we
you
do
know,
out here
yeah,
too?
exactly. So I'm like, hey, I remember putting down some of the my role, like troubleshoot, and I'm like, all I
Yeah.
did was like made sure that the plugs were wired, or I mean, were plugged in.
It counts.
But
It
Replace
it
the
counts.
counts, right?
keyboards when they
You know
got
what I'm
too
saying?
grimy.
Yeah, it counts. So you have to be creative like that without stretching it too far, but at the same time talking the language of the employer, on the outside. And so it
Right.
just kind of speaks to that translation, if you will. And men and women need to know how to do that, you know.
I love
Absolutely.
I love that you were questioning yourself. What can I put on my resume before
Yeah.
you got out? So you were obviously already very business minded.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about that. You clearly have a passion for business.
Yeah, for sure. I've always been like, since I was a kid, I was a hustler. You know what I mean? Like I'm pumping gas. I'm carrying groceries. I'm trying to sell you something. It just was in me. I just had to switch hustles with it. You know what I mean? I started working early at 15, around the same time I started, hustling in the streets too. So I was always kind of like a dual role, if you will. But yeah, so I've always like this entrepreneurial mindset. I've always been thinking about like, how can I make some money? How can I create a product or service? And while I was away, I read so much, the Entrepreneur, the Inks, the Fast Money, Fast Companies, all these different magazines. That's what I did, to prepare myself for the outside, coupled with the knowledge I already had. While I went to school, business management. I did business on the streets, you know what I mean, at a decent level, most people say. And so it was already in me to do these things. I just had to switch the product up. And so, as Justin know, like in federal prison, like you had the opportunity to kind of spend time around men and women who were white collar,
Yep.
And I did a lot of that. I would pick the brains of people to kind of add to my knowledge I already had. And I read the Wall Street Journal like literally every day, like every day. You know what I'm saying?
More than I could
for
do.
like 8-9 years, yeah. And so I don't do much of it now. I'm so busy, but I need to get back to it. But all these different things, added to my knowledge base to become like a successful entrepreneur that I had in mind once I got out.
Well, and I think that that's also a really good point. Both in prison and out of prison, you are who you hang out with. You are who you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
And if you're surrounding yourself with people who are doing better and who are going places, then naturally you're going to be inspired to do better and to go where in that direction as well. And it's the same out here. If you're surrounding yourself with people who are doing the same things, you're going to get the same results.
Right.
And so it's important, I think, to just continuously be vigilant about who you're around. Be around people who are being successful, who are doing the right thing, who are making a success story out of their lives, and you're naturally going to be a success for yourself, and that's so important.
Yeah, I have a saying where it's like, your network is your net worth. Network
I
is
like
your net
that.
worth. So just spending time around people, as you stated, inspiration, motivation, just to kind of do something. And at times you have to emulate, what you want to become. If you can't see it, you're not going to be it, Or even if you're seeing it up here, you at least have to have some kind of reference, whether you're reading a book or someone in real life, And so I escaped through reading books. Like that was like my escape route. That's what I did. Magazines and books, my whole bit. And I placed myself, I seen myself doing some of the things that I'm doing now. I had the idea for Escaping the Odds while in 2015, It's like, okay, I'm gonna create a podcast. I never did a podcast before. I read about it though, but I never knew what it was. I knew
it wasn't a thing
medium.
when you went in.
It wasn't a thing, right? I came in 2009, right? Like it was a new medium, and so I'm like, okay, it seems like it's inexpensive and doesn't take much, and I can just kind of start there and increase my own social capital at the same time while I'm doing it and change the narrative. So it was like a win-win-win. And
absolutely,
here we go. Yeah.
Well, and I was lucky that I had two neighbors that happened to live a couple houses down that said, after a few stories over dinner and stuff like that, they're like, you really should, and we started this and it's just also taken off, and it's been such a, it's been a good thing for me because it also keeps me accountable, in a lot of ways.
Sure,
like I can't come on a podcast and talk about X, Y, and Z and then be doing X, Y,
That's
and
true.
Z.
That's true. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not. Especially in this space here, right? I'm doing reform justice type work, and it's like you definitely can't be double-sided. Right, like your credibility is over with. You know what I mean? After that.
And they would hit you super hard.
Exactly. Yeah. So and then, but at the same time, we're allowing for people like to see success stories, people like you and I, who come from that situation and bounce back from anything, and just kind of lead with your life in a new direction.
I think it also is pretty remarkable how much it impacts people who have not had personal experience with the
Yeah.
system. Like I know, for example, my only experience is at a distance. So my grandfather has been in prison my entire life. And so that's the only way I know him.
Yeah.
And I found out somewhat recently I'm the only person in the family who still has any communication with him. You
Oh,
know,
wow.
yeah, you just kind of I realize now it's so easy
Yeah.
to forget someone once they're locked up, and it's
Yeah.
what a terrible thing to say, much less know the statistics on, you know? So I
Yeah.
think that podcasts, just having the communication like you do and what Justin and I are trying to do really
Hmm.
helps some of the families in a way I didn't anticipate. Like I know I have better conversations with my grandfather now than I did
Yeah.
5 years ago.
Oh, for
And it's
sure.
I didn't expect to see that come at all. I was just hoping maybe this will help someone somewhere, and if it helps one
Yeah.
person, great. I never anticipated the family ripple effect, and
Right.
like
Yeah.
most of the people that write in, they are family members who are writing
Yeah.
in thinking these. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's what you do is amazing. You're giving people hope for reentry. You're giving them resources and support, even if it's just over the airwaves.
Yeah.
Um, but that extends to such a huge ripple effect. I really didn't anticipate it all when this all started. So good for
Yeah.
you for starting a new medium, like right out the
Yeah.
gate. That's awesome.
Yeah. No, that definitely hats off to you as well. Like it sounds like the person that helped the most was you through this whole, you were saying like maybe it didn't
Absolutely.
help one
She is
person, but it's like,
100% the brains and the drive behind this
yeah,
operation.
you know what
I
I'm
don't know
saying?
about that.
It definitely helps you out, like just with at minimum the relationship you have with your grandpops, so
Mhm.
that's all right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. And now I have a really awesome friend. It worked out, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. That's cool. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's crazy. But okay, so you're super awesome with business.
Yeah,
The part about business I cannot stand is finance. So,
yeah,
as someone who's really interested in your success, can you talk
yeah,
about the finance side of it a little bit? We'll just touch on
yeah,
it briefly.
yeah. No, that's fine. Finance for me is like more so, like I'm really strong with like financial literacy, right? Just
Mm,
understand like personal finance, just making sure you're on point with that. Like I taught like budgeting classes while I was away at Samsung.
mm,
But also another part of that is like the financial markets. Like I trade options, trade stocks, and that's stuff that I learned while I was away. I had some knowledge of it, like a really small, idea what, stocks were, of course, the basics. But again, spending time around people that was like white collar offenses and just reading the Wall Street Journal, I had a chance like to really hone in on my skill set by like paper trade. I know you've seen people do that while they were away. That was me. I was one of those people that paper traded and read the Wall Street every day, had my charts and all that kind of stuff. And so it really kind of helped me once I got out here on this side of the fence to continue to do that work. And so that's my strong suit as it relates to finance and things of that nature, more so than not more so like the accounting, because I don't like that part either. I like the well, I guess that's money too though, but like the stock part of it, right?
mhm.
Stocks and like how to make money with your money.
Yeah.
That's my
Right.
strong suit. Yeah.
Well, hats off to you. My husband is very into the stock market, and it all
Yeah.
goes over my head. So
Yeah.
good for you. That's a niche skill. I don't know. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a game changer if you're doing it right.
Yeah. And I'm still working on the whole budgeting thing. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
One step
well,
at a
it's been
time.
so good to see you.
Yeah.
And I'm so encouraged, just blown away that I knew you and that we know each other.
Right.
Did not
Right.
see that coming today.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's so great. I mean, I looked at, your website and everything, but I didn't put two and two together and
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
I heard you speak. And
Right.
so
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
congratulations, man. It's so encouraging to see.
Yeah, no, thank you, man, for having me on, man. Definitely appreciate it. Both of you all are in a great space right here. You know what I mean? Just being able to help change the narrative. That's the main
Absolutely.
thing. People need
Yeah.
to see people coming home from
Yes.
incarceration and like not just doing like average things. That's cool, no doubt, right? We
Right.
won't stay out of trouble, but like
Right.
really like really just taking off, they're like, oh wow, I want to be like that cat, I want to be like her,
Exactly.
and so we need more of the superhero stories, coming from behind the walls and the fences of these
That's a
prisons across the
fantastic
country.
point.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and you are the superhero story. So kudos to you, man. That's awesome.
For
Thank you.
sure.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Definitely let's stay in touch. I definitely want to
Let's do.
know how
Aaron,
Count
I'm
Time is
looking forward
doing.
to it.
Yeah, for sure. And so, we all in the same space. So definitely want to be able to learn from you all as well, with the podcast stuff. So for sure.
Oh, likewise. It's very much reciprocated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you,
y'all
Aaron.
can find the podcast on escapingoz.com, anywhere pretty
What
much
was that again?
podcasts are. You all can find the podcast, the audience, anywhere that podcasts are played. Apple, Spotify, wherever. Escapingoz.com.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
And we'll make sure to link you as well.
Okay, cool. Perfect. Thank you all, and talk to you guys soon.